Center. We continue to watch very closely at this hour a line of severe thunderstorms, some spawning tornadoes pushing through parts of lower Michigan. On south into northwestern Indiana around Gary and South Bend, some severe thunderstorms in the area. And that's not all. It goes all the way south across the Mississippi, and we take it right on back northwest of St. Louis and down into southeastern Kansas. This is the same weather system we've been dealing with for the last several days, with record cold and snow in the west. A couple of days of severe weather in the plains, and now the focus of the storm's energy is centered over the Great Lakes. We head from St. Louis north. Hail-producing storms around Moline, Illinois earlier today. Farther north in the metro Chicago area, we've had many reports in the Chicago area of winds gusting over 55 to 60 miles an hour. They evacuated the tower down at Midway Airport on the south side of town at about 3:35 local time. Just prior to the evacuation of the tower, they had winds gusting to 55 miles an hour and some hail coming out of those severe thunderstorms. And within the past half hour, we have reports of a tornado on the ground in northern Clare County. That's just south of Roscommon County. That report being received by the sheriff's office. That particular storm spawning the tornado is pushing northeast at about 45 miles an hour in northern Clare, and also in Roscommon County we now have tornado warnings in effect. It's been a very active afternoon with this line of severe weather pushing on through the Midwest. You can see on radar now those storms showing up very clearly, pushing through northwest Indiana. We've had many reports, in fact too many to mention at this time, along this line of damaging wind gusts, and at times today the storms have been moving northeast upwards of 60 miles an hour across lower Michigan. And that usually means, when the storms are moving that quickly, that we do have a very high potential for damaging wind gusts. Milwaukee, about 1.7 inches of rain. That fell in less than an hour with strong wind gusts. Meanwhile, west of Milwaukee, about an hour and a half's drive away, we head to Madison, Wisconsin. Now we have a very clear way of showing you what happened there. As you can see here, lots of structural damage. Now these scenes were taken around Dane County, especially south central and southeastern Dane County. We had a report from the emergency management officials in Dane County that about 75 homes have been damaged, 30 injuries from the severe storms. Fortunately, at least as far as we're told, no major injuries at this time. Quite a widespread area of damage from the severe thunderstorms pushing through the county, and we're going to keep a close eye on it for you through the evening hours. Let's check the forecast and turn it back to the studio.
And Declan, thanks a lot. Let's take a look first of all at our situation. Let's get back off the radar picture.
Area of spin. We're looking back some 30 hours since this storm pulled on out into the plains. Now it's having its greatest impact across parts of the Ohio Valley, on up across the Great Lakes state. The bright white tops of some of those thunderstorms over 50,000 feet high in the atmosphere. When they get that high, well, they get very cold. They get into some very cold layers in the atmosphere, and that's why we're seeing hail fall out of some of these thunderstorms, even though temperatures today were in the low 90s across the Great Lakes. As we check on the radar, well, we find some still pretty big thunderstorms across the upper Midwest. Severe weather moving on through Michigan, on down through northern Indiana. Boy, this looks like a Christmas tree. We zoom on into the upper Midwest, we find some very rough weather across Michigan. They've moved right across Lake Michigan and on into Flint. Actually, a tornado was sighted just off to the south of Flint in Livingston County, and then on up toward Huron County, where a tornado warning was in effect. Now for Oakland County, just off to the northwest of Detroit. And look at this action moving out of northern Indiana. It's all moving off to the east. Detroit, Jackson, Toledo, Findlay, Fort Wayne, all folks living in those towns prepare to take cover. Lowest floor of the building you're in interior walls, stay away from the windows and don't use any electrical appliances. This is a very rough situation. Notice here in Chicago, things seem to have quieted down. We've got partly cloudy skies, still warm and humid, but no more severe weather is expected in the Windy City, and that's good news because earlier on today, well, it was a torrent around Chicago. Over an inch of rain fell in some spots in just a matter of minutes. Winds gusted to 60 miles per hour. You're looking at it virtually all across the Chicagoland area. There were problems due to flooding during rush hour on the Dan Ryan this evening, and we've also had some trees felled over power lines. Widespread power outages are being reported in Chicago and all across sections of Indiana and Michigan tonight. So a very, very active weather pattern here. Off to the south, well, thunder showers continue in the Champaign area, but the line begins to break up as it moves down towards St. Louis. We have escaped in northeastern Oklahoma some pretty powerful thunderstorms at the present time. Tornado watches continue in effect for southeastern Michigan tonight. Also, the upper peninsula of Michigan could see some more cold air funnels for the next hour or two down into Indiana and eastward into Ohio. So tornadoes will be on the rampage tonight. Even if it's not a tornado, as Mike said earlier, straight line winds off of these thunderstorms can gust over 60 miles per hour. And the whole reason for all this activity, well, as we check on our current surface map from our other source, well, we find that a cold front is